And away we go. Alrighty. I believe we're going.
Go.
Yes, sir, and welcome back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. I be your host, Daniel Wagner.
Anthony Trewick.
Wow, I caught my own name got caught in the back of my throat like some kind of... Anyway, it's been a long time coming, and it's been a long, long time since we've been here in studio together to record an episode. And today, we're going to be covering our thoughts on this U.S.-Iranian conflict and more little updates and that kind of thing. So stay tuned for that today on the Unframe Mind Show.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind Show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
All right. And welcome back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind Show. We've had a lot of stuff going on over the past month or so, I guess, and not the least of which is what's going on in current events and that kind of thing, but what's been going on in our lives as well. Good Lord.
I forgot to share this shit to the group.
Freaking chaos. So I'll go ahead and let you
do that.
I'll let you share it to the group. So basically I've spent the last couple weeks anyway between the holidays and visiting family and kind of just taking a break and working on other little smaller projects. I've been working on the studio. It's been coming out quite nice so far, and now we are in the stage where we're ready for drywall. Yay. Hanging drywall, I'm okay with that. I can hang it, but good Lord, I really, really am not a big fan of sanding that crap. Good Lord, and I suck at it.
I guess that's where I come into the picture then. I got to find some time to come over and help you because I'm actually good at that. So
you're good at putting on mud or the sanding part?
I'm good at playing in mud with women.
Well, that's not going to be happening.
I don't know if that's going to correspond over to
you bring the women,
but...
you bring the women, I'll bring the mud, and we'll have a grand old time about it.
We'll have to have a cookout.
That would be fine. I'm okay with that.
Social's not loading, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, you done broke it.
Yeah, this seems to be an ongoing issue with us every time we do a live show on Sundays.
Is it just the Sundays?
Well, the last time we did a Sunday live show, it was with Enrique Tario, and, well, we saw how that whole day went down. So
Well, the stuff has popped up on my feeds, so I think we are live.
Yeah. I'm sure that it is. It's just for whatever reason, it's just being absolutely slow.
Maybe it's your phone.
It's probably my phone.
See, this is always the struggle. It's always something, It's always a computer glitch or
Did you already share it? Or?
Yeah, I haven't shared it yet. No,
All right, I'm working on it. There we go.
Should be posted. There you go. All right, so
share it to the group
and just wait on some people to come on in, and we'll go ahead and have us a grand old time of this.
Yes, indeed.
I can't wait.
How was your Christmas?
My Christmas. It was good. It was actually good. We had a number of things happen, just family related wise that just, kind of changed certain family dynamics.
A lot or just a little?
Some a lot, some a little,
Yeah.
Like my mother-in-law not having seen her son in 4 years. Finally got to see him this year, and we actually had a pretty good Christmas at her house, or Christmas Eve, rather.
What was the purpose of not seeing each other for so
Just
long?
falling out and stubbornness on both parts, I think.
That sounds like a typical family.
Yeah, you know how that is. But anyway, he was talked into coming and visiting, and hey, good morning, Miss Robinson. We have a viewer, guys.
Well, it is 9 o'clock in the morning.
9 in the morning.
Sunday.
Come on, wake up, you lazy sons of bitches.
Most of us don't start our day at 3 a.m., Daniel Wagner.
Look, y'all got to come and get on our time, all right? That's how we roll.
I guess because we've been on other shows in other countries, we're so used to the, being up so early in the morning or, up so late at night.
Yeah,
so
basically.
How was your New Year's? It looked like you guys did tacos.
Yeah, Tacos Against Humanity.
Against Humanity, yeah.
That was fun. We missed you. You should have been there. I know
was
you weren't.
in Dallas.
You were probably doing much more fun stuff, but I think we had a good time. Yeah, it went really well.
I think that's the first one I've missed. So hopefully next time you guys just do that.
Yeah, we did it. We did it at a Jeremy's been on the show a few times for those who are new to the show. Hey, we got Myra joining us as well. Good morning to you as well.
And a current official U.S. citizen.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations for that.
Congratulations.
She's been working her ass off for that, and that's very, very cool. I was glad to see that. and I like to see people, doing it the proper way. You're not trying to do it through the,
I got to be honest with
backdoor
you,
way.
with doing this show and the culture of people that we have met throughout the time that we've done this show has been incredible, and I've loved it. You see Myra getting her U.S. citizenship, and you see people like Enrique Tarrio, who's the Proud Boys chairman, that's now running for Congress, and and then you've got just everyday people like Heather that we had her on the show recently before the holidays and talking about the struggles with the relationships. I mean, it's just so many people bring so much to the table. And it's been fun having that experience to have those conversations and see people grow and and change, and it's been rewarding. This is why we love doing this show, man. It's just it offers so much.
Yeah.
And 2020 is looking really good for us.
Yeah, I'm already overwhelmed. We ain't even got started. Yes, this is real life, Jeremy. We're real. We're right here. We're in your living room or on your phone.
If it says live, we are live.
Well, see, the thing is, we've had a bunch of bank episodes that have gone out as premieres, so they kind of look like live shows, but they weren't live shows. This is a live show. Like, this is actually legit. We're not pre-recording. We're here. Jeremy,
originally,
you can minimize your Pornhub for a minute and just bring up our channel for a little while.
I can't remember. Is it midgets or old people that he has a thing for?
Midgets. And old people. Probably old midgets.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's specifically.
I guess it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, specifically old, like elderly, little people. I think that's the politically correct way of saying that.
I don't know. I've never been in that short situation before, so
it's
hard to tell.
Well, it has been a short time coming.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So I just want to roll right into this. This is not kind of like our normal Wednesday live show kind of setup. We're going to be having Enrique Tarrio on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be pretty cool. But
it'd be good to catch up with him.
We just decided, let's do a Sunday show. Let's talk about these current events that have been going on. Let's just kind of put some put the brakes on a little bit and say, hey, look, okay, now that we've had a chance to sit back and look at what's going on, now that we've had a chance to, kind of digest it a little bit, let's take a second. Let's look at what's the reality of it. What have we seen from people as far as emotional reactions and that kind of thing. I'll tell you what. Let me start with this. Let's get rid of a dog. My dumbass forgot the show, so we've got somebody interrupting the show.
Oh man!
Hey, London. Say hello to the camera over there.
Say hi to the camera.
There you go.
That's a great little still shot.
All right. So if you want to start us off, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this dog real quick.
Yeah, that's fine. Or I can just sit in silence and everybody just look at my pretty face. Because Daniel forgot to shut the door and turn the light on. Says that we're live, and we got a pup in here. Yeah, but. No, it is.
This is what you get to see. This is what you get to see when we actually do it live. I don't get to cut these things out.
No, that's what's fantastic. And believe it or not, most podcasts are not live. I mean, I know there's some out there that are live or stream live, but we are one of the few that actually do this show, this podcast live. It will come, out on podcast form later on, and things of that nature. But
no pressure.
What you see is what you
no
get.
Pressure.
And
no pressure.
I'll fumble words. He'll stutter. We'll banter back and forth. But the cool thing is you get a real reaction from us. It's not, it's not edited or anything like that. So that's what's neat.
So. Recently, we've seen a number of things happen in terms of this conflict between Iran and Iraq. I'm sorry, Iran and U.S. And
it is Iraq because that's where both strikes have happened.
Right. Technically, yeah. I think the best meme I saw was one where said something about the U.S. Attacks Iran on Iraqi soil. Iran attacks the U.S. on Iraqi soil, and Iraqis over here are going, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just we've known for years that Iraq is, if the U.S. were to back out now, Iran would try to step in. We know that's where that power struggle seems to lie, in the Middle East right now. So, and for me, it's just. it's been watching the news unfold.
Mm.
I've sat back. I haven't really been vocal about this whole situation because I know, for one, if you've done your research and homework, this has been going on for decades.
I've been
this
very
isn't,
vocal
This
about
isn't
this.
new. This is
very
not
vocal.
Well, I mean that's fine if you are, but in
Right.
reality is that people want to act like this is, oh my God, we're going to go to World War III and the tensions are high and all this and all that. And I'm thinking, people, go back into your homework, and you will see that there's been escalations between the U.S. and Iran for decades.
Like,
this is not
yeah.
new.
At least 6 decades.
Right.
At least 6 decades. Yeah, and it's funny because even some people that are like, hey, go back in the history, you got to go back to like 1979. And it's like, no, you got to go back even farther than that. Like, I'm glad people are going back in their history books, but damn, you got to go way back. You got to go to 1953.
Is it 53 or 55?
53. 1953.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're talking about a long history between our country and theirs. And
Well,
quite frankly, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, before we get into this, this is something I've never done before until this conflict happened, or the current situation going on with the general that they had killed, the U.S. that killed the general. I wanted to sit back and observe how CNN, how Fox, MSNBC would treat this situation. Like what were the headlines going to be? And just sat back being more of just an observer more than anything else to find out, okay, how are they going to push their own agenda on this, and what tactics are they going to use to manipulate the population to put that fear into the public's eye, thinking that, oh my God, we're going to have World War III.
Or to suit their narrative for,
Right.
Yeah.
Now, here's the factor I think that benefits the media is that they have someone like Trump in office who is more of a loose cannon, and they have the ability to kind of play off of that. So it's easier to strike fear in the public's eye and give that perception of we're on the brink of war. Because if you look at Trump is not your typical politician. With that being said, he's a little bit more outlandish with his tweets and his persona of being just a straight up cutlass, ruthless, kind of like a thug life moment kind of guy, I mean, it's what it is.
Yeah, once you said that, I could see the meme with the glasses coming, or the digital glasses coming on.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of a younger generation hasn't seen from a political leader that doesn't take any shit.
Yeah.
This is new for them. Everybody's been so kind of finessed into this PC culture kind of way of life. And they're not used to somebody having a set of balls to say, no, this guy has been responsible for killing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people over the course of his tenure as general. And we'll get into this later, but the way the Democrats felt bad for Iran was just, I was blown away by that. Like the way that they just kind of, I don't know, man. It's just, are you guys really defending this guy? Are you really defending Iran for their behaviors and what they were doing to the U.S. Embassy?
What would be an example of something that they said? That
what is the chick from Minnesota? I cannot remember her name.
Ilhan Omar?
Yes, talking about how she got PSD from the whole situation.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you get...
Sorry, hey, Bayonet. Welcome.
It's been a long time since we've seen him, man. It's good to see him back in the chat.
It's the first live chat we've done in a while.
Yeah. So listening to her give her, her statement about how she's suffering from PSD from this event. First of all, she comes from Somalia, which is a very war-stricken, country in itself. They've gone through a lot of things, and for her to seek refuge in the United States, you should be grateful for that. There are legitimate people who suffer with PSD, and to use that as a way to manipulate the people into thinking that, this has really struck you in such a way that you have this fear now is complete. It's ridiculous. It is just the Democratic Party and with their approach to this whole situation with Iran has just been, it's been loony is the best way I can put it. Yeah. I mean, it's just...
Well, it's not. I don't know if it's been loony as much as it's been kind of predictable in a number of ways, because we've seen this kind of pattern happen over and over again, where it seems like the media is very, very ready to jump on pro-war type scenarios, and like when it looks like we might be ready to have a battle, they're like, oh yeah, we're getting ready to go to war. Here's the war. Here's all this coverage.
But we saw that with North Korea, in which it never came into fruition.
Yeah, but the thing is that they profit from war specifically.
Well, yeah, obviously
So
anybody will, but
the media specifically has a very vested interest in making sure that we go to war if possible, and maybe even tweaking the narrative a bit to make people even more afraid and more ready to act on those emotions and ready to, justify any kind of political action in terms of actually going over there and doing something.
Right.
This is one thing that blew my mind, was seeing all of the people on social media, for example, going, just turn the place into a parking lot, nuke them, get rid of them. It's like, really? Everyone? The whole place? That's your solution? Like you haven't, you see what's happened in the last 5 minutes on the news. You've watched the news sit there and try to get you, as obviously emotionally manipulated you, and your response is to nuke the entire place? Really?
Yeah.
Really? It's like, you see like two of your neighbors over there having a feud, and you're friends with one of them, and you're like, oh, well, we should probably just go ahead and just murder that whole family.
Well, hence
even though
why,
even though it's really only the head of the household that's causing this stuff, let's just kill everybody. Children, women, pets too. Let's just, matter of fact,
get that bird.
Burn
that
the house
fucking
down
bird,
too.
man.
They got a little fruit side stand there. Let's burn their economy as well. Let's just destroy everything. Just level it.
I think that's where. That's the reason as to why you're not in office and other people are. It's because you have that thought mentality. But and I can see where a lot of people would have that same thought process when it comes to Trump. Now, here's the thing: a lot of people thought when the escalations were at an all-time high with North Korea, that was going to be a very very tense. Well, it was a tense situation, but the Democrats really thought we were going to be on that brink of World War III, and that's what we heard about for several months. Look what happened. He became the first U.S. president to step over to North Korea's soil, and that has not been done for many, many years, or actually at all. So now you have the situation with Iran. Once again, where you have to remind people, and I made this post, but there's so much truth behind it. You ever seen that movie 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Okay, 10-second Tom. Every 10 seconds, he introduces himself like, he's never met you before. That is the problem with society. Society has shown us that you can't even go back 6 months to a year to remember that we were in the same position, obviously different circumstances, but we were in the same position with North Korea and nothing ever happened. We're in the same situation with Iran, and everything is kind of de-escalated. So...
And a lot of times, if you try to point that out, people are like, "Oh, are you like pro-Iranian or something? Are you pro-Soleimani?" Like, no, I'm just pointing out that we have a past history here we need to look at. This is the same thing that's been happening for generations, literally generations.
Yeah, and that's where you have to. We stress this so much on the show. You have to go back and do your homework. You have to understand the history between our country and with their country. This is no different than with anybody else that we've had issues or problems with. And for whatever reason, people don't want to take that approach. It's easier to go back, 6 months and say, "Oh my God, we were on the brink of war. And look at Trump now; he's almost in another brink of war with Iran." It's like, guys, settle down.
So from the comments, Bayonet says the leaders of Iran respect strength, unlike Obama with appeasement. Yeah, that's probably true.
Or $150 billion in cash.
And I don't think it's necessarily that they respect strength. I think it's that they only understand violence as a means of solving problems. And I don't mean that just to try to demean the people necessarily, but what I mean is you do have if you sit there and look at the IQs of these countries, they do have an incredibly low IQ,
right? And
a lot of that has to do with I don't want to say inbreeding, but they do seem to have a much higher prevalence of cousin marriages. It's kind of an acceptable practice.
Well, plus
cousin marriages has been shown to lower IQ
your
significantly.
Educational,
right, and the lower IQ you have, the harder it is for you to see more of a
diplomatic solution or way.
Yeah, it's harder to kind of see into the future as far as, okay, if we do this, we have this negotiation. If we have, it's much easier to see, oh, I'm mad, act out in anger.
Right.
You tend to see that in a lot of poor households where children are abused. It's because a lot of that has to do with low IQ type populations. Now, that being said, Bayonet says they do goats, man. Yeah, Daniel Crane mentioned, let's not forget their interfamily marriages. Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
That's and with that perspective, and this has been going on for generations. We've had a past history. When you are of the higher level IQ and you do have a average median IQ in your country, that's you're able to see the future a little bit better. You're able to look down the tunnel of time and see where this leads. Problem is, there's so much profit to be made in the area. There's so much profit to be made from these constant internal wars that keep going on that it's like, oh, well, we know what could happen. We know what's going to happen. That's why we're going to stay here and keep poking this hornet's nest. They're never going to be the mature ones to step down and go, okay, all right, I get it. No, but really, if we want this conflict to stop, we need to be the ones to say, okay, we get it. We see where this is going. This is going to be a continuing cycle of escalation time and time again that might simmer down for a while, and then it's going to repeat the cycle over and over again. Okay, we'll step out. We'll take our troops out. We'll go ahead and cut our losses now. A lot of people are throwing the argument of, oh, well, we've already spent $2 trillion in the area, which turns out to be completely false. It's actually way more than that.
Yeah, it is.
And so they're like, it's the what's it called, the sunk cost fallacy, the idea that we've already spent this much money, so we might as well
just keep going, stay there, finish it out. But then it turns into months, and then months turn into years,
and way more money.
And then you're looking
wasted,
at since 1953 and beyond that.
You're not going to be able to like seriously. This is the analogy that I put up, and somebody said, well, that's not even a close analogy in our Facebook group, and the analogy was something like, okay, I'm trying to raise my family here, and I've got 3 states over. There's some guy that's going around killing all these people. I feel like, okay, well, we need to go ahead and go way over there to handle this guy. Let's not let the people in the surrounding area deal with it. I'm going to go way over there and do that. And not only am I going to go way over there and handle that situation, I'm going to take this guy out that I only know half the story of. I'm already struggling financially. I'm already in ridiculous amounts of debt. My kids depend on me to eat, and I'm gonna say, you know what? Fuck you, kids. I'm gonna go over there and deal with this guy because this is clearly more important.
Yeah, set aside your priorities to your family and life here at home, and then go and do something that has no ties to you whatsoever because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
So you got the analogy pretty quick. You're
right.
like, oh yeah. But this guy's like, no, it's not even close. And then when pressed, it's like, okay, so that's okay. Maybe you say it's not an accurate analogy. You say it's not even close. First of all, of course it was somewhat close, at least a little bit. At least there was some grain of truth in analogy. But explain why. And he nothing. And other people are like, hey, explain why. Nothing. He can't explain why. I'm like, well, it's because the analogy is correct.
But you can't justify it. It's almost impossible. Yeah. So moving on from that, I thought it was interesting, and I was reading this in the was it San Francisco Times talking about how Iranians that have came to the U.S. were celebrating the death of this leader or this general, and the contrast difference between the Iranians that live here versus over there, these are the ones that fled, this country that was just so unstable and just not a healthy place for anybody to want to live. Now, you have the Democrats on one side that are kind of feeling bad for Iraq, or not Iraq, but for Iran. And I'm thinking to myself, have those individuals that are defending these people and this government and their actions, I wonder how their perception of what they see about Iran would change if they spent just a little bit of time over there. Spend a couple of weeks, spend a couple of months, maybe years. Come back and give us your perception of what you think this country is all about, because let me tell you, the majority of what we're seeing is a lot of the population will take to the streets and yell death to America. I mean, this is I've never been.
And to be fair, they're also being brainwashed by state-controlled media and that kind of thing. So it's kind of understandable why they would feel that way.
That's any country that you step foot onto. But for me, it's just
which is ironic because we're just talking about the exact same thing,
right?
With our own media, they're a little more sophisticated about it,
that's
so it's harder to detect.
That's what I was fixing to get into, is that we're just as guilty as pushing that propaganda, say, as another country.
Yeah.
But the difference is that their religion is so hardcore that they don't deal with the gay population. There's just so many things that they're not going to tolerate, say, that we're more accepting here in the West. And that's what I want people to understand is that if you think that you're going to defend a country and the current issues and social issues and diplomatic ways that are just not being justified by Trump because of the way he's been acting, if you think that you can provide a better solution on how to handle the situation, by all means, I want to hear what you have to say, but go and spend time over there. I mean, if you think that the grass is greener on the other side, just spend that time and come back and give us the assessment of what you think is a better way, to handle the situation. I mean, this guy that we took out was responsible and was coordinating future attacks against U.S. Military and our embassy. I thought this was a very, very smart
allegedly,
move.
That's what they're
allegedly, yes.
That's what they've the official.
It's funny because this whole situation could have went one of two ways. The way that it currently did with us killing, him, and then it could have went in another direction where we could have possibly had another Benghazi on our hands.
Yeah, I've heard people making comparisons.
It's not really comparison. It's just this is what happens if you don't act. This is what happens when you do act. So you're not going to please everybody in this argument or this situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to get some of that pushback
and that
from
even goes
one side
for
or the other.
Yeah, that even goes for the Iranian people, where a number of people are saying, well, these Iranians, they hated this guy. They couldn't stand him. Meanwhile, you see all these marches and stuff. There's huge outpouring of support for this guy when his funeral was going on. It's like, yeah, a lot of Iranians also loved the guy. Just like in our country, about half of us love Trump, and about half of us can't stand the man. But yet, if this is the big thing that I was really trying to press is, like, if somebody comes into our country and does a military coup, takes out our president, half the country is going to be like, "Fuck yeah, thank you, appreciate that, that's awesome." The other half of our country is going to have bloodlust.
Yeah.
Like, and how long before you forget that that's been done to you? Like, you finally got your guy in office. You finally got him. Like, you're like, this is my dude. Okay, another country's coming in and just took him out. I'm pissed now. Like,
man, I would honestly, I would love to spend time in a country like that. Not just because of the country itself, but to see the true difference between Western civilization and, a place in the Middle East that is just very rich and their culture dating back hundreds and hundreds of years.
Or even the difference between what our media says that country's like and what it's actually like.
Well, yeah, because obviously, if you go over there, you're going to get a far different, perspective and overview of what's going on there, and you might be able to come back and say, "Hey, that's not what they're telling you. That's not what they're showing you. You might want to take another look at this because what the media is talking about over here is not what's being perceived."
In the comments here, Bayonet, actually, to that point, he says, "I saw a documentary on the Iranian people, and they are the most welcoming folk in the world. Our leaders suck big time." And then Myra on our Facebook chat, she says, "Well, either you mourn or get shot. Happens in many countries." And that's true. That is part of it. Absolutely. The problem is there are a lot of people that feel like he was performing their what they wanted to have. They're attacking the Americans. He's doing the work, the good work of Muhammad. He's in alignment with their beliefs and what they feel like they should be trying to achieve in the world. Regardless of whether or not it's been as a result of them being brainwashed into thinking that, or as a result of them being forced into pretending like they're mourning his death. Fact is, they do. Thank you. I got it. Thank you, ma'am. A little hard to have coffee cups and Iranian glass without my coffee cup. Just got it. Yes.
That kind of morning.
Anyway.
So let me ask you this. So with all this going on, and things have kind of seemed to settle down just a hair. And I asked this, but I probably know how you're going to answer it. But where do you see the direction in which this is going to go between us and Iran? We already know they're going to put tougher sanctions on the country. We already know that there's going to be some kind of, it's going to die down a little bit. And the next time, Iran wants to step or cross that line, the U.S. is going to respond. So I guess what it boils down to is what needs to happen next for both of these countries. What is your opinion on what
it is really interesting that the way you put that is like, because in one conversation I can't even remember what the conversation was about at this point, but basically it was it was this idea that, we go over there, we cause all kind of havoc in their country. We actually started it with a military coup back in 1953, which we'll get into more of the details on the past history that we've been referring to. But it's like I brain farted. I completely forgot what you just said.
What the
Where was I
U.S.
going?
What the how like we've been going at this for decades with Iran, and this kind of falls in the same premise with other countries. But what do you think that needs to happen now between the U.S. and Iran? I've heard some.
I remember where I'm going with
Well,
it
now that I'm thinking about it, I'm hearing in some conversation circles where this was almost a political stunt for Trump because we saw what happened with North Korea and we saw the news. You got to remember, Trump is an entertainer. I voted for Trump. I'll probably vote for him again just because of the Democratic side. But you almost kind of wonder at times if this whole thing wasn't staged.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some people
You
are even
just
saying
I'm
that
not
the
a
entire thing is.
I am not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch of the imagination. But you have to remember, Trump tweeted out back when Obama did the exact same thing to Iran.
Right. 2011 or 2013, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And
during Obama's presidency.
Right.
Yeah.
And Obama kind of did the same thing that Trump is now currently doing.
Yeah.
And you go back and you look at those previous, social tweets that he put out, and then he's doing the exact same thing. Mm. And you almost kind of wonder if this isn't kind of staged in such a way to where this helps him now that we're in this current, election cycle. Not only that, too, but going back to my previous comment about North Korea, tensions were high. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh, my God, we're going to go to war. We don't.
It would have been 2011 because that was before the election season of 2012, and that's what the tweets were about. About the only reason Obama might be doing this is something because he's wanting to be reelected in 2012. So it would have been 2011.
I've got to give my boy Trump a hard time about that because you have to kind of see the hypocrisy behind that. But here's the thing, though. Okay, so North Korea, tensions high. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden they de-escalate, and then all of a sudden it's like Trump is going over there, having meetings, setting up this, setting up that. He's the first U.S. president to step over to North Korea. This is all for publicity. Okay, yay, everybody's getting along. What's not to say they're not going to do that with Iran?
I don't know. It's possible. It's possible.
All of a sudden, Trump is the saving grace of the world. He almost goes to this full blown-out scale conflict with Iran. All of a sudden, it de-escalates, and then he's making a trip over there, which no president has ever done as far as, given the climate of this. And then all of a sudden he's meeting with them, and then, he's over in Iran. I mean, I'm not one to speculate, and I'm really kind of putting this way out there. But you almost kind of wonder I'm really thinking outside of the box with this one. But you almost kind of have to wonder sometimes if there's not a political gain and loss to what these politicians do, either for to be reelected or to sway a personal or public opinion about what people are doing. You mean
politicians do things to try to get reelected? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
But I think Trump has a way of putting this such on a grand stage, because you have to remember the guy was he was on TV, and he's very much a public figure, and he loves the spotlight. Trump loves that ego. He's got one of the biggest egos I've ever seen. He loves that attention. He thrives off that. Right. It makes him feel like he's the shit nonstop, 24/7. He's the man. And I'm not dogging Trump. I'm just telling you this is how he is. That's his personality, and he's just got that way about him. So I like I said, kind of tapping into that tinfoil hat situation. Right.
And, so Myra made a comment. She says, "Well, don't forget the embassy was just attacked." And to go back to what you were talking about just a minute ago, and more to that point there, is that it's like I go over to I love analogies because they just simplify everything and really put it concrete. Right. But it's like I've spent the last 6 decades going over my neighbor across the road. He has like 40 acres of land. Mm-hmm. I've gone in, I've taken over a couple acres. I've got my own little military base over there, and I'm just, and then, I've got my little embassy over there. So he's, slowly over the generations, he's lost a couple acres just because I've just gone over there and decided I want to take it. And, I'm just here to make sure you guys are behaving. I'm here just in case you decide to attack my property.
Yeah, just checking in.
And then when this neighbor decides, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and attack your embassy, your little, this building over here that's on my property. And then we're like, oh no, you killed our people. You killed our people. That's not cool. You can't do that. And now everybody, and then it's like you get on the media and you're like, oh, hey, let's forget that I'm really, on their property without his permission,
But this isn't to minimize
or maybe even
that.
with his coerced permission. I'm
right. Well, this isn't to minimize the, the situation with us killing, their general, because that needed to happen. I'm for that. I was completely for that. But I was kind of reaching a little further down the line as far as, the relations between Iran and the U.S. I think by the U.S. doing what they did, they probably, obviously prevented more people from dying and being harmed. That is always
now
a
you
good
say
thing.
you say it needed to happen, that he's killed hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know what the numbers are exactly. They throw
They're
around
high,
the media.
yeah.
Thing is, I keep wanting to get back to this. I want to bring up this history.
No, we
here.
will. Yeah.
Part of it, as I was doing some research before the show, I brought up to you, hey, wait a minute, isn't everybody mad that he sat there and killed all these people? But where was it here? I want to make sure I get it correct here. But it's like we've caused all these conflicts over there. We kill hundreds of thousands of people in other countries with other conflicts. We are guilty of the exact same thing that everybody's so pissed off at this guy for doing.
Yeah.
Did he need to be taken out? Okay, I can agree with that. But if that's true, so do our leaders. They can use the same justification to come over to our country and take out our leaders.
Right.
And we shouldn't be able to have shit to say. Like,
well,
you came over here and took out Trump because you came over here and took out half of Congress because they allowed this attack. Okay, I get it, because we did the same thing. And we said it was okay. We used our anger and fear to justify that.
Well, yeah, we actually do kill millions and millions of people here on U.S. soil by allowing people to have abortions, but that's for another conversation.
That's another conversation. But I'm talking about just
I get what you're saying.
Like compared to like, we do invade other countries. We do back other military leaders in other countries. We do supply arms to Saudi Arabia. We did supply arms to Iraq.
Israel.
Huh?
Into Israel and other countries.
Yeah, we supply arms. We do, whether or not we actually have our own boots on the ground, we are helping to kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
But most Republicans would, in defense, would say, well, we're defending other countries from places such as Iran and other places. But here's the thing, though, and one of the reasons why I do agree with what happened with them killing him is because this was a very isolated attack. There wasn't civilian casualties in masses and things of that nature. If it means somebody losing their life because they have killed thousands and thousands of people, and he was the only one, obviously with other people like his, security detail or whatnot, that died, I'm fine with that. But when you start attacking you go to war with a country or you're attacking a country, just like we talked about and mentioned, and then you start to see the population of Iraqis or Iranians that are dying, that's when, yes, the U.S. population, the people, not population, but the political figures need to be held accountable, for killing of civilian lives, that had nothing to do with this. So it's like, how do you justify killing one person over another? You know what I'm saying? And that's the part of war that is just so sketchy, and it's just a part of it.
Well, it's not only that. There's a two parts. The second part to that.
Right.
First was what you said. How do we justify killing one person over another? Right. Secondly, if you do make that justification, will you make that same justification if your leaders are taken out for the exact same reasons?
But why does the U.S. have to be the one in that situation where we have to take out these individuals? Why isn't it somebody else?
Why is it our business?
Why isn't it,
Well, and people will say, well, because if we don't go over there, they'll come over here.
No.
That is such a ignorant, simplistic, stupid fucking argument if I've ever heard it.
No, that is
dumb. That's like me saying I've got a dude that's out on the rampage doing bad stuff to bad people 3 states away from me who will literally never have an impact on my life. And if he does, I can make sure my house is fortified enough, or I have a local police department that's strong enough, or whatever the case is, to defend me against such an attack, in which case then we can retaliate. But until that time, why the fuck are we because and there's a reason we are over there, and it's not because Soleimani's over there killing people.
I heard people say that this has always been oil driven, and
it was at one point.
I don't think it is anymore. Trump is not the kind of person that strikes me as somebody that's going after oil. he's going to probably throw up a casino quicker than he is a pipeline.
I don't think it's. I'm pretty sure it's not oil driven now. It used to be, but I don't think it is now.
When
Definitely.
Bush was in office,
it did back in 1953 when we
really
went over there and started the whole thing. But somebody brought up this interesting point, and they said it's a lot like, okay, right now we're driven because it's like we've got the tiger by the tail kind of thing.
Right.
If we let go, the tiger's going to attack. If we keep holding on,
if we pull out Iraq, Iran's going to move in.
Right. Again,
that's what they don't want.
It's kind of a variation on the sunk cost fallacy idea that we've already wasted all these resources. We've already been, now we need to go ahead and just, let's just do tit for tat and keep this in the news and keep people pissed off about it.
But I think that's where people talk about wanting to nuke the area and turn it into a parking lot and just be done with it. Because they feel as if you do that, then you can walk away and not have to keep spending trillions of dollars into a region that's just going to always be unstable. This is, in my personal opinion, we just need to get the fuck out. Let them fight it out. Let them do what they need to do as necessary. That is not our dog in this fight.
But Anthony, if we pull out, Russia's going to go in.
I don't give a shit what Russia does.
Same
I don't give a
here.
shit what China does. I don't care what Egypt does, what Jordan does. If you're coming at this from a diplomatic, stance, that's fine. It'll probably change the relationships between us and other countries. I get it. But at some point, the U.S. has got to draw the line in the sand, figuratively. That's a nice little pun. But the U.S. you've got to – when do you finally just put your cards down and walk away from the table? I mean, really, when do you have to do that? Turn this over to somebody else that's going to have to control the Middle East and things that are going on.
Yeah, I was looking for something real quick while you were going on, but basically military size by country.
I think we actually talked about this not too long ago.
Yeah, I think we did, and there's a very stark contrast. There's a chart I saw. Oh, I think this is the one. Yeah, let's go with this. Let's go with this one here. This is just to give you an idea, because here's my argument against if we pull out of Iraq or if we pull out of Iran or we pull out of the Middle East, Russia will move in. This is my argument against that. Okay, there it is. This is 2010 defense spending, United States versus the rest of the world. Okay. Like, I'm pretty sure you could take all of those countries combined.
I got a feeling a lot of these countries aren't stupid enough to want to sink that kind of money into the Middle East. We're the only ones that do it because we want to maintain our relations with the Saudis.
Be okay. Even if Russia does team up with Iran,
right?
I think we'll be okay.
I'm not the least bit worried about it.
I think we'll be okay. So,
but you've got so many different factors that play into this. If we did completely pull out of the Middle East, you got so many factors that play in that if we stay in the Middle East, there needs to be this kind of well-oiled situation to where we can have maybe the best of both worlds, but not entirely. And it's never going to happen. There's going to have to be a drastic situation that's going to have to reshape or reform the Middle East. And what I mean by that is that's when you hear the argument about let's just nuke the place or into a parking lot. Let's hit the reset button. Let's just wipe everybody out of the place and just be done with it once and for all.
What a great idea, genius. Now fucking what? What about all those families who've had
Well, I mean,
their families ripped from them?
So that opinion can be made because
somebody
they
nukes
have
Middle
no
Tennessee.
ties. Right. But that's the problem, is that you have no ties to those people or that country. So it doesn't matter to you if they're wiped off the face of the earth.
Not at all.
Now, if the same comment was said about your hometown, your family, your friends, your job, your environment, you would be pissed.
Yeah.
You'd be like, no, you're not going to do that to us.
Okay, let's glass Middle Tennessee. All right, the whole thing. Just get rid of it. It's been a problem. It's been a thorn in our side. They're out there killing hundreds of thousands of people. They're bad people. We disagree with their ideology. Let's just nuke Middle Tennessee completely. They speak a little funny. I don't really like it. A little Bible belty. I'm not a big fan. Yeah. They say things like fixin' to and y'all. I don't like that.
Window or wind, something like that.
Winder.
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't deal with it. Glass them. So, okay, that's done. Now, guess what? Personally, I've got family in Indiana that's going to be highly irate. I've got family all the way in Wichita, Kansas. I've got family in California. I've got family in all over the United States that are in areas that you didn't glass that are going to be highly irate. They're going to be looking for some vengeance. They're going to be really pissed.
Yep.
Like, listen. So here's the thing. You either have to glass the entire United States, in which case you still got people's families that don't live within the United States that are going to be highly pissed. Like, no matter what, you either take out the whole fucking world, or you just figure out another goddamn way.
And let's understand something here too. A world war involves a multitude of countries, and there has to be a large or mass casualties of death to provoke or even to incite what a world war is.
Yep.
Again, this is very concerning for the younger generations that don't quite understand what is involved in a world war. Now, obviously, you and I were not a part of that time, but we do have grandparents or family that was a part of such events,
or were heavily impacted by.
Right. My grandfather that recently passed, in World War II. So, for me, it's you've got to understand this is a coalition of more than just the United States. It's allies. This is the allies of Iran that are now going to partake in this.
Right.
This is when you turn this whole conflict into a actual world event, not just between Iran, not just between the U.S. A lot of people can't seem to understand just because we have a little tiff with another country does not mean it's going to provoke a world war. We have been going down this road with Iran for decades, and nothing has ever come to the forefront in which it would provoke.
Let's get into that. So I'm not going to read to you guys the entire history timeline. If you want to do your research, please do that research. And even the stuff we're reading you now, I've noticed a little bit of wording in this article that suggests that they do have a particular viewpoint, a bit of a bias, which is understandable. So read
what part doesn't?
read multiple sources, and you read multiple sources, figure out where they all agree, and you'll find the truth. Mostly. So, but that being said, I did want to give a brief history because this does seem to be hugely agreed upon. Just a few of the highlights here, but 1953. This is what I keep talking about. It says under the orders. Excuse me.
Get it together, man.
No, my throat's got. I know it sounds terrible on the mic. Anyway, 1953. Under orders from President Eisenhower, the CIA organized a military coup that overthrew Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. Sorry, I'm going to butcher names. Just letting you know up front. Britain, unhappy that Iran nationalized its oil industry, came up with the idea for the coup and pressed the United States to mount a joint operation to remove Mossadegh. For years, the U.S. denied its involvement in the 1953 coup, but in March 2000, nearly 50 years later, we finally get Secretary of State Madeleine Albright admitting, quote, in 1953, the United States played a significant role in orchestrating the overthrow of Iran's popular Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. The Eisenhower administration believed its actions were justified for strategic reasons, but the coup was clearly a setback for Iran's political development, and it's easy to see now why many Iranians continue to resent this intervention by America in their internal affairs. This was Madeleine Albright in 2000 saying this.
And this is something that happened back in 1953.
Right.
So.
Now we're almost 70 years into this conflict. Nothing's really changed, okay? No. It's the same shit. So, you got to keep that in mind. Why were we over there having a coup? Well, we were working with our allies to battle their nationalization of their oil industry. They had a democratically elected president, which is kind of what we say we're over there fighting for. Mm-hmm. We took him out because, we can't have that because they're actually doing things the way they want to do them.
Right.
Like, that's going to conflict with our oil interests. We can't do that. We got to take this guy out. What was the other years we were covering?
1980.
I think you said 1979.
So, yeah, if you want to go into 79, we'll start with that one first.
God dang it.
Get it together, man.
It's hanging on, and it sounds
like
crap.
I think it's because you haven't been around me in a while.
Yeah, I'm allergic to you.
Trying to get used to that smell again. That smell of fabulous. That's just kind of working.
All right. So if anybody wants to hop in the comments and just let us know. And if you're enjoying this so far, please make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Please, it helps us grow. That's the number one thing that you can help us out with. There's also ways you can help us out as far as if you want to donate to the show, if you want to purchase T-shirts and stuff. I have a number of designs on our all that's on our website.
I've got some in the wheelhouse too. By the way, I got to send over to you new T-shirts.
Okay, that's cool. So yeah, definitely. If you want to help us out, please check that out. We'd love any kind of support we can receive. But the best way you can help us for sure is to share our content so more people can be reached.
I found out why we're so monetized on YouTube. It's because we use language in our program.
Because we're
We use language in our program, our live shows. That's why we're monetized on YouTube.
That's why we're monetized?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Demonetized?
Or demonetized.
We're not demonetized.
Might
I've
wanna
never
look into that.
monetized us.
You never did? Why?
Actively decided not to.
Huh.
First of all, because our show's too small to really justify the amount of money we would make off the views. So it's really just wasting people's time with an ad that's only going to bring us in a few cents a month. It's not really worth it. Second of all, if we monetize it, we do really have to start watching our mouth and changing, and there's certain things we can't talk about. We will get demonetized if we decide to monetize. So I just didn't even mess with it. I
was wondering if you did that.
Yeah, because
back
a
when
number
they
of
changed the policy settings to it,
right.
You did agree to that though, right?
So what?
The policy settings that went into effect December 10th.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah, so I never did from the get go, because there's other ways that we can help grow the show and monetize the show that don't involve a central point of attack.
Right.
We can sell our own merch. We can have people donate individually.
I was wondering if you did that or
like
not.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. That because what happens is when we do get big enough and other people kind of catch wind of us, and people who really really disagree with us and want to shut us down, they tend to go to those central points of attack and try to take out shows that way. Hit them monetarily in the pocketbook. Basically, get them kicked off YouTube is the big one. Yeah. Get them kicked off Facebook. Get them kicked off of Patreon, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, we've got
but as long as we have it more of a decentralized model, and we are supported by our viewers and listeners and our audience, that's probably the best way to go about this without.
Well, I will say this:
putting a central point of attack, or excuse me, good Lord, what?
You've got some issues this morning. Are you okay? Are you a little flustered?
I'm all mucused up.
Mucused up.
I'm not flustered. Just, I think this coffee's like coating my throat. It's really weird. Anyway, we're gonna get back into this. Do you have anything else to say before we move on? All right, 1979. 1979. U.S. This is the article is pathos.com. It's from pathos.com. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but this is just a brief outline, a brief history. So, 1979, U.S.-backed Shah of Iran forced to leave the country after widespread demonstrations and strikes. Islamic religious leader Ayatollah Khomeini returns from exile and takes effective power. 66 hostages taken by students at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. The students justified taking the hostages as retaliation for the admission of the Shah into the U.S. and demanded the Shah be returned to Iran for a trial. The new Iranian regime believed the Shah was in the U.S. so that the U.S. could carry out another coup d'etat in Iran. The U.S. claimed he had come there only to seek medical attention. I call bullshit. The U.S. The Shah was given refuge as Iranians demanded his extradition to Iran to face justice. The U.S. rejected Iran's request, and the hostage-taking ensued. So that's fun. Oh, they're like,
I'm worried about
they've already had a coup d'etat in our country. So why would they be worried about another one? Like you could see where this kind of pattern.
But in 1980, 82, and 83, 85, and 86. I mean,
yeah. So 1980 was the other year that you wanted to cover here.
Yeah, that was the other.
No, I wanted to cover 80.
Point.
1980. This is a year later. Iraq invades neighboring Iran with the approval of the assistance of the United States. The war lasts 8 years and kills hundreds of thousands of Iraqis and Iranians. Okay, so that's what we were talking about earlier. We're guilty of doing the same thing.
Yes.
Therefore, anyway, secret U.S. military mission to rescue hostages in Iran ends in disaster in sandstorm in central Iranian desert. Exiled Shah dies of cancer in Egypt, but hostage crisis continues. Okay.
It says Iran suffers heavy casualties from Saddam's chemical weapons, most of which were provided by the U.S.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Surprise, surprise. Oh, now hold on. Didn't we, remove Saddam from power? Didn't we
Because of chemical
that
weapons.
We supplied him. Dude, how... I gave my neighbor these weapons, and now he's killing people with them, and so we're gonna have to take him out. We supported him killing those people, but now he's killing these people, so now that's not cool. We gotta take him out. This is so fucking ignorant. Anyway.
There's just so many situations that we can sit here and tap into. We'll post a link to this article in the description for other people to read. We're not going to read all of this, But we do encourage you to
All right.
take a look at the timeline.
So check this out. 85 and 86. I was about 1 or 2 years old. The Iran-Contra affair. U.S. holds secret talks with Iran and makes weapons shipments, allegedly in exchange for Iranian assistance in releasing U.S. hostages in Lebanon. With revelations, I thought we didn't negotiate with terrorists. Okay, now that's another fun thing. This is another point I want to bring up. Again, if you want to read more of the history, please look it up and see. We're heavily involved. We have been involved. We've been over there screwing with these guys for years. It's ridiculous.
So when you start to read other stuff on social media and you hear the news, hopefully if you're watching this, you will then start to hear what the media outlet is saying, and then you're just kind of like, wait a minute. We've been going at this for how long?
So I want to shift gears just a little bit, because we keep talking about all these terrorist activities and they're terrorists. They're over there doing this and that, and we got to take them out. These terrorists. It's a word that's used all the time.
Yeah.
And in your mind, you kind of know what a terrorist is, right?
Yeah.
And here's the problem: nobody knows what a terrorist is. Nobody can define it. Not without it's. I wish I could find it. It's driving me nuts. But I was either heard it somewhere or read it somewhere that the world leaders, when asked to try to justify terrorism, could not define terrorism without implicating themselves within that definition.
Because they're responsible as...
Because whatever they accuse the terrorist of, they're also doing the exact same thing, if not worse.
The only reasons why it's justified is because they're in a political power, and they could use the fallback as, well, we're defending civilians and a population in our country, yada, 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 yada.
Right.
So
yeah, this brief quote I want to read from an article. It's titled, "Why Has Defining Terrorism Proved So Difficult?" Now, this article was written in 2009.
Bring that up on the
I'm going to bring it up. Right. Yeah, so why has defining terrorism proved so difficult? I just had it highlighted, but I'm going to bring it up over here because I'm smart and I do that. So the difficulty in assigning a truly comprehensive definition to terrorism lies in the fact that not only is it challenging to be specific when motives, targets, and methods differ so broadly from case to case, but the complexity of untangling the overlaps within each of these categories to make the task virtually impossible. Certainly, attempting to discuss all aspects included within the definition of terrorism is far too broad a feat for the scope of even this essay. Yeah. So, this guy written quite a big piece. I haven't read the whole thing because,
just
time.
Drop the link into the description, and we'll let people, do their homework themselves, which, we hope that you do.
Yeah, I'll try to remember to also include those links. I'm really bad about that. I'm sorry. That's why I try to read the titles and tell you what website they're from so you can find them if I forget. Anyway, yeah, so that's what makes it interesting, is it's such a difficult thing to define. Like, nobody can really define what terrorism really is, because I've even heard it say that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically, in the case of Soleimani, when we're over there saying, "Oh, we're taking out this terrorist," there's also a bunch of people going there. Well, that's my freedom fighter. That's the dude that's standing up for me and my cause and my beliefs and attacking the targets that I feel like need to be attacked. And we're doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. We're doing the exact same thing. And everybody just...
So I guess my question still falls in the same premise. What do we do?
What do we do? Again, I agree with you, man. Need to pull out. Yeah. I think that's the only thing we need to go. So, okay. Oh, wow. We got a bunch of comments here. Oh, no, we don't. I'm just behind.
Look what Bayonet. What did he say? Your show is what?
Yeah, Bayonet from he's watching over on our D Live channel. He says your show is very important. Change one mind and you can affect 1,000 people. He must be on the wheeze again because he put a comma and forgot an additional. So I'm guessing it's 1,000. Come on, man, get it together.
We love you, man. Damn, get off the weed if you're gonna be watching the show.
I think that's our show comes up in his notifications. He's like, "Oh, time to light one up."
He's probably just like, "Oh, Daniel and Anthony."
No, we appreciate it, man. We really do try.
We do. We love the support.
To bring a little bit of reason and common sense and, a different perspective that you're not hearing from.
And this is strictly our opinion. Doesn't mean that it's, that it's right or that it's wrong. It's just it's our way to assess the situation and just kind of roll with it, the conversation wherever it may lead.
So Daniel Crane from Facebook sends us this article, and I'm wondering what this is. It's from the Wall Street Journal. Let's check this out. See what he was sending us in the comments section. U.S. warns Iraq it risks losing access to key bank account if troops told to leave. If you tell our troops to leave, you won't have access to funds anymore. Loss of access to New York Fed account where international oil sale revenue is kept could create cash crunch in Iraq's financial system. Well, wait a minute. That's Iraq.
Yeah,
we're talking about Iran in this particular, so I'm not really sure what this has to. I'm sure if
this probably ties into Iran.
I got a subscriber sign in. Guess what?
That.
I'm not doing that. I'll just read this first little piece so we can maybe see what he's saying. The Trump administration warned Iraq this week that it risks losing access to a critical government bank account. It just says the same thing the title just said. Yeah, so it might still have a little to do with oil. Now, here's the more conspiratorial side of things. Is like I think there was a list of countries that are threatening, or they're threatening to go to gold standard, or something like that. I know Russia and China are looking at it, and the reason they don't get attacked is because they have nukes. But there is Iraq or Iran, one or the other, is still talking about it, and all of the Middle Eastern countries that we've taken out leaders in also have expressed interest in trying to get on the gold standard, get off the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. I don't know. Again, correlation does not equal causation, but it's very possible that that has something to do with it. Because here's the thing: if people realize the scam that's going on with the Federal Reserve and shit, because another country is suddenly becoming very, very wealthy because they've gotten off the U.S. dollar, is because. We can't have that. We can't have that.
Like I said, there's so many variables when it comes into our involvement with the Middle East. It's more than oil. It's more than weapons. It is just a multitude of things. This is what happens when you have spent decades in a country that, in my opinion, we should never have had a conflict or a purpose to even step foot in. But that's just here nor there now. I mean, what's done has been done. My question is, and will always be, is what do we do moving forward? How do we assess the situation and find a way to ease out of the Middle East or keep it to at least just a bare minimum?
I was listening to Tim Pool, and he was talking about one of the big things about that he notices. He thinks Trump does listen to Tucker Carlson on Fox News and that kind of thing, and Tucker Carlson is all about pulling out. Just get out of there. That's what the American people voted you in for, was because we're non-interventionists. We don't want to be over there. We want the troops home. We don't have, like you said, we don't have any business over there. And that's part of why a lot of people voted for Trump, is because he was going to offer us something way different than Hillary was offering. This bitch was wanting to go to fucking World War III with Russia and get started on that.
Well, I wouldn't say that because we'd say the same thing about Trump.
Right. So it might be. But,
as much as I hate Hillary, I can't say that.
Maybe not World War III, but at least a significant conflict with Russia, because she was actually pushing it. That is stated fact.
I think with Hillary, if she would have been elected, I don't think that I think other countries would have been they would have pushed us.
Yeah.
With her being a woman and her being in a power like that, I think that you would have seen aggressions from other countries to put her in that situation.
Interesting fact. Women leaders start more wars than men do.
Yeah.
Interesting fact.
They do it at home.
Women police shoot suspects more frequently than male police do.
They ain't got time for the shit, man.
Interesting fact. No,
we thought y'all women had more patience.
Anyway, yeah, no, but I think what part of the reason this has been kind of tempered down, and Trump's not immediately retaliating the way that people suspected he might after the bombings of the Iraqi U.S. military bases and that kind of thing, is because Tucker brought up an interesting point, and maybe Trump realizes an interesting point that, this is all speculation, of course. I have no idea what goes through the guy's mind, but it could be possible he's like, oh yeah, that is what I was voted in for. If I go ahead and keep escalating, a pretty good chance I'm not going to win re-election. So he has to be really measured in how he handles this. It has to be really pinpoint accuracy, so to speak. It's probably why Soleimani was taken out, when they could, just him and not, a bunch of civilians in the process. But I don't know.
I guess there's
a lot of moving parts to this. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. So I guess just a visual, audio, video kind of update on what's been going on. So I did talk to Chris yesterday, kind of touched on that with you.
Chris Rivas.
Chris Rivas, yeah. He's one of the interviewers that are interviewees, I guess I could say, that we did with the Life Beyond series, and got me in touch with Struggle Jennings, and Struggle's fixing to go on tour. He's going to be gone for 6 weeks out on the West Coast. We're looking about 6 weeks before we start shooting his interview. I've also been in the conversation works with David Meese, which I have not had a chance to talk to you, so this will be a new piece for you, about the possibilities of going out west and doing the interview with him out in Vegas. Cost factor seems to be logistically more doable for us to go out west than it would be for them to come here. That interview would consist of him and probably 4 other playmates that would be involved in this interview. It would be a 2-day shoot. Currently, the studio is looking rather good. It's from the pictures you've sent to me, and seeing where you're at with everything right now. It's shaping up to be really good. You know, it's hard because you started on this back. We started helping you back in August.
I don't remember.
Man, but then just to kind of see the progression of it, and
over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. and to know that when it's finally said and done, and we just ordered the chairs for the studio, and it's just, man, it's going to be cool to kind of see it all set up. And
I'll be picking up chairs today.
Yeah, and the thing I like about this is that, if you're a part of our Unframed Minds Facebook group, you get to see the progress that has taken shape over with us for the last 6 months to a year. And it may not seem like it all the time, but there is a lot going on behind closed doors that we just don't share. We add a few things here and there on the Facebook, group page, but in an overall sense, there's a lot of moving pieces to what we do that has just not been seen. But we try to keep everybody in the loop because I think it's been fun. Bringing people along for the ride.
Yep.
I think that's important to see the growth of the show. And if it wasn't for the group, if it wasn't for the friends and the support that we have, it wouldn't push us to do the series. It wouldn't push us to do the studio and everything else that we've got tied up. The cool thing about this, though, is just if you kind of think back, you and I, to a year ago, and all this was just talks. It wasn't anything that, we envisioned or we thought was going to happen, and then you're just kind of sitting around. You're like, shit, dude, look at the people we're fixing to interview.
It's hard. It's hard to step back and pull your head out of the chaos for just a moment and go, wow, what's happened?
It's just I have made so many great relationships from people in the group page.
I was talking to somebody from the page. Speaking of which, the group rather. If you want to join our Facebook Unframed Minds group, it's facebook.com/groups/Unframe of Mind. Please join that. It's a lot of fun. And I'm really upset because one of the requirements or one of the questions that are asked as you join the group is, hey, will you subscribe to our YouTube channel? And we almost have as many people in the group as we do YouTube subscribers. So get on there, subscribe to our YouTube channel too. We really could use the help.
Here's the other thing I just kind of want to tap into real quick.
Yeah.
And I will cut this piece up because I think it needs to be at the top of the page. I'm not a big rules person. I'm not, never have been. You know that about me. But I know that you are, and there needs to be some kind of social structure to the group. With that being said, I was on vacation for almost 2 weeks during the holidays, and then I really hadn't gone on the page. But then recently, people seem to be a little bit more combative towards each other, and I want this to be a reminder that we don't cuss at each other. We don't degrade each other by calling each other, fucking stupid or, idiots or things of that nature. Yeah. That kind of conversation will get you booted from the group. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that is your First Amendment as a freedom of speech, but it's also our right to protect that freedom of speech. And if we feel like that you're being, derogatory towards other members, that it's just not warranted because their opinion.
Basically, if you're just being a toxic
member it's just, I don't tolerate. I don't talk to my kids I don't talk to my kid that way. You're not going to talk to me that way, and you're not going to talk to other members. You're just not going to. Right. That's, I guess that's the premise of my thought process on that is that I wouldn't talk to my daughter that way. you're not going to talk to me that way,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to talk to you that way.
And-
So
and if-
let's
and if
keep
you-
it, you know.
Yeah, and if anybody feels like that's going on, tag us in it. Tag one of the moderators in it. We'll get in there. We'll figure it out. We usually give people a chance, because a lot of new members might start the cussing or they might start it, but usually a little gentle reminder. Hey, check the group rules. We don't talk like that. We're not in this grade
We're
anymore.
not Nazis here. We're not going to boot you out of the group the first time you slip up.
So,
it's just
and then most of the time people are like, oh, sorry that I got it. I
If it
fixed
becomes
I changed it. I edited it. Whatever.
Yeah, if it becomes a repetitive thing that you do, yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and take it. There won't be we won't say anything.
And for those,
so.
because I do see sometimes people are like, man, I really enjoy this group, but it's been really getting bad, and there's this person doing that, and I don't know about that. I think I might leave. Well, be patient, because every time we have a new growth of the group, there is a lot of new storming in the part. A little bit of growing pains of growing. Yeah, and then we get leveled out, and then we have another growth spurt. It does happen. It's going to happen. We're going to have that. Just be patient with us. We are trying.
We can't monitor everything.
I really,
we can't.
I really want to mention this before I forget it. But I was on the phone with one of the group members the other day, and he said, I have a lot of discussions with a lot of people in a lot of different groups. He said, your group is by far the best group I've ever been in, as far as having these conversations and being able to actually feel like some progress is being made in these discussions
Through social conversation about what's going on.
Right. So I feel like we're definitely moving in the right direction, and we're open all the time for other suggestions as far as some tweaks to the rules as they are. I don't have many rules in the group. I think I have like 4, and one of them is just don't block the moderators. That's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty laid back guys.
Yeah.
We tend to cut people a lot of slack. We know that people are going to slip up and say something or act a certain way. We do it too. The difference is that if it becomes a habit, and we see that trend that you're currently on with talking to other members.
God, it's funny. It helps hold me accountable too, because I was like sitting there, and I always think about what you say, and I think about what Lee says, and I think about our group rules, and I was getting this conversation. I was like, I started to say something. I'm like, that probably wouldn't go. No, delete. I didn't say it. So it does keep me accountable too. It does, because we all have the tendency to do that, and we got to hold each other accountable. That's really all it's about.
But the Facebook group has been great. I've made a lot of friends off of there. I do like this one individual. She offers a very leftist perspective. I cannot remember her name.
Amber?
Is it Amber? Yeah.
Amber, like Trejo or something like that?
Something like that. Man, she has been a breath of fresh air in that conversation group.
Yep.
I mean, just to hear her thoughts, and she's not using the straw man fallacy here. It's very nice to see a different perspective, a different thought process, and then she will challenge your way of thinking.
Yeah, we could definitely learn a lot from Amber's.
I would love,
because a lot of what she says is like, I notice a lot of times she's saying, I might be wrong, but maybe I'm misunderstanding you, but
she brings dialogue to the table, and I absolutely love that.
That's
and
great.
If
I don't agree with half of what she.
No, I don't either. but it's just her approach with it is civil.
I love it.
I will say this, and I don't say this about a lot of people in the group, but there's something to be said for her in the way she conducts herself that a lot of us can learn from. And if she's ever willing to come on the show, I would love to have her on. I think it'd be great to have that conversation and for us to interact with her. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I would love to. I don't think that's going to happen. I've had conversations with her, but I don't think it's going to happen. At least not yet. Maybe in the future.
Maybe not. But
the
invitation does stand, and I mean, we can't, obviously, force people to do the show, but it's been nice to have someone of her thought process in the group. That's what it was meant for. So,
all right. Well, if you guys have enjoyed this show today, please share it with your friends. Let them know about it, and also help us grow. And
next Wednesday,
Enrique
Tarrio.
We've already covered that.
Yeah, he's going to be back on the show. This time, it's not going to be so much Proud Boy related material. This is going to be about his run for political office and his district and what he's been doing within the community itself. And he's a great guy, great personality. He's a friend of the show, and we encourage you guys to check out next Wednesday. And if you get a chance, share it, like it, subscribe, click the little notification bell so that way every time we get on that you're with us. We want you to be with us. Always be with us.
All right.
And be well.
Again, if you've enjoyed this show, you guys have been watching another uncomfortable conversation without a condom. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner.
Anthony Trawick.
And we will be back Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central with our weekly live streams again. Stay tuned for that.